Hello everyone, I thought it was time to do another video featuring some of my 118 models, but in this case I'm just going to show the two models that I got from a recent lay-by, and I'll show one in full. The other one I'll leave for another video, but anyway, you'll see what I mean. Well, the first model I'll show the box of. I'm not going to get this one out of this box, but this one is a James Moffat car. I ended up putting this one on lay-by at the model shop I go to because I was in there to make a lay-by payment. I think this was the second last car I lay-byed, and the one below was the last I lay-byed. Actually, no, there was the Murray Carter that I showed in a video before. I think that was actually the last car that I lay-by. This particular car I put on lay-by. It was on the day that his father died, and this was at a fairly decent price. And this is a James Moffat car from when he was in the development series, Fujitsu series it was at the time. And he was sponsored by Norton 360, and interestingly GT Radials, who were a company that his father Alan promoted, but of course runs the Dunlop tyres. This is a Bianchi model, it's 118 and fully opening, but I'll show that in another video. Yeah, but I thought I'd show that. This one is the Classic Carlectables. A Holden VL Commodore GrpA SV, otherwise known as the Walkinshaw, from the Sandown 500. Doesn't specify the year, but from memory, this is from 1988. Yes, it's a Larry Perkins and Denny Hulme car. It's a 118 model, one of 1100, so fairly limited edition. Bianchi released a similar one to this, but it was a Bathurst car. And I think they did both this, the Larry Perkins and Denny Hulme car, and the Tom Walkinshaw and Win Percy car, I think. Or was it Jeff Allen? Because Jeff Allen was another driver that drove with Walkinshaw. Thinking 88. No, Win Percy was with Larry Perkins, Alan Grice in an FAI VL Commodore in 88. So it must have been Jeff Hulme. But I'll open it up, have a look. Got the thingy. Letter opener. Usually rulers are quite good for this purpose as well. See, because to save the box, yeah, get it. Anyway, you basically get it under, so it's getting to the edge of the cardboard, so of course they come in a clamshell and no screws, which is a good thing, which is an annoying feature of some of the models. The screws, real pain to get out, but I suppose it's their way of having no damage. Now, thankfully, there's one window open, which makes it easy to get the car out. Now, as you see, it's a nicely detailed model. Now, I'm pretty sure the front wheel would be the same as that back wheel. I'm not sure whether it's a Dimag. I don't think they were Momos, or could they be Speedline wheels? And on the front, it's got these aero discs, which I think would help aid brake cooling. I don't know whether they're meant to be more aerodynamic as well. Maybe. But it's got a reasonable amount of weight to it. Yeah, the interesting thing with these, they weren't officially called the Holden Racing Team in 1988. The car that Tom Walkinshaw and I think Jeff Hulme were racing, I think they raced at Sandown as well as Bathurst. I'd have to look into that. But it was built in England and it raced initially as the earlier Peter Brock HDT car. Anyway, that doesn't matter because that's a totally different car. But the Perkins car was built by Larry Perkins. I think it would have been the second or third Larry Perkins car. Now, what I should do On the base, you can see some of the detail. Plastic base, of course, but it wouldn't be possible any other way. This is number 261 out of 1200. You can see the rear suspension, the exhaust system, side exiting, twin extractors. I guess it had a tiny muffler as well to quieten it down a little bit. Now, I've opened the driver's door. And in there, I don't know if you'll see it, but there's a switch panel that sits on the left-hand side beside the transmission tunnel. I believe they were called the Tower of Power. And Perkins cars had that sort of switchboard right for years after this one. And it's got a SAS racing bucket, so I'd assume the steering wheel would be SAS as well. Now, under the engine bay, you can see the the 5-litre Holden motor. Actually, I think it was a 4.9 to get it under 5 litres, or a 304 instead of the old 308. Yeah, it's got the twin throttle bodies off the... I don't know. I know, like, plenum or intake of the motor. Yeah, looks quite good and detailed. Yeah, but nice model. We'll get the old turntable out. Oh, there we go. I can adjust this camera while it's mounted on the stand. Yeah, this is the certificate of authenticity that came with the model. Yeah, it came second at the Sandown 500 of 1988. It doesn't say who sponsored the race, but it was the NZ 500, who for the previous 2 years had been Larry Perkins' sponsor on his VK Commodore. He was teamed up with former Formula One world champion Denny Hulme of New Zealand, who won his world championship driving a Brabham for Jack Brabham, of course. Now, I don't know whether they're headlight covers and there's headlights behind there. I'd assume there is. Or whether they're just bits of black plastic. But the actual race car did run with very dark tinted headlight covers. It says here 2 cars were entered from the HSV team, so they weren't calling themselves Holden Racing Team as yet, as I thought. Number 10, as I mentioned, Denny Hulme and Larry Perkins. In number 10, which is interesting because number 11 was driven by Jeff Allen and Armin Hahn. Okay, so Tom Walkinshaw must have only done Bathurst and not the Sandown 500 as well. But Jeff Allen, yeah, as I'm sure I mentioned. Yeah. And Armin Hahn, of course, won Bathurst with John Goss in one of Tom Walkinshaw's Jaguar XJS's in 1985. The number 10 car was able to lead in its debut race for 30 laps before a slow pad change, brake pads, allowed Alan Moffat and Greg Hansford in a Ford Sierra RS 500 to build an unassailable lead. The Alan Hahn pairing failed to finish, retiring after 56 laps, whilst the Perkins Hulme car finished the race in second place. So, pretty good debut. One thing I didn't notice about the model, it's got a what would you call it, a prop for the bonnet. Oh, gee. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this model, or the actual car that this car is modelled off, is being restored by Larry Perkins's son, Jack, who's rebuilt a number of their cars. I think Larry assists still, and plus other people, and their cars are done to a very high standard. Yeah, and this one, I don't know. They do have videos on YouTube, so I'll have to look it up. Yeah, so it just gives you some features of the model. It's got the blue dashboard and door trims, which are a bit yuck. So you can see the Tower of Power. They're calling it a switch tower, but I'm sure the Perkins team referred to it as the Tower of Power. There's the 304 5 litre, 4.9 litre. Front suspension, back suspension. Of course, that one gets number 0000. Yeah, unfortunately, the boot doesn't open, which is quite common on a lot of Classic Carlectables opening models. You will notice I only open the driver's door on this one, but all 4 doors do open as well as the bonnet, but the boot lid doesn't. Yeah, I've got a few Holden Tirana A9X models. They don't have opening hatchbacks. The Dick Johnson Fox Body Mustangs, they don't have an opening hatch either. And there's a Jamie Whincup BA Falcon, that doesn't open either. So, well, I guess it does keep the cost down for the manufacturer, and it makes them less expensive, because I think the more detail these days, it costs more, because China, where these are made, is a quite expensive place to manufacture goods these days. But China are known as a place of excellence for making die-cast models. They're very precise. So, yeah, like anywhere else, the workers deserve to be paid a good wage. Well, I'll start to bring this to a close. You see some of the sponsors like Castrol, Yokohama. That's an unusual one, because Larry Perkins was a loyal Dunlop man. Sansui Hi-Fi, Holden, of course, Telecom mobile phones. Oh no. Oh yeah, Telecom Explorer mobile phones. Yeah, I was going to say it had Dunlop tyres on it, despite the Yokohama sponsorship, but and Bill Stein's shocks, Australian Airlines, so not heavily sponsored. But Yeah, quite a nice model. So that's this 118 model by Classic Carlectables of Larry Perkins and Denny Hulme's second place at the NZ 500 of 1988. So, as always, thank you for viewing. Hope you're all well. Goodbye.